Now is the chance to use reliable energy to grow your money with the Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. Our new investment product offers competitive returns, no maintenance fees, and flexible online access to your money. Make the reliable investment in reliable energy. The Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. To find out more, go online to reliabilityinvestment.com. That's reliabilityinvestment.com.
It's that Badger style.
The Rajasthan Royals, Andrew McDonald, the head coach, captain, is Steve Smith, another Aussie as well. They had the one title all the way back in 2008, which was the first incarnation of the IPL. They've made the playoffs 3 times since, very inconsistent up and down side. Obviously missed out for 2 years, 2016 and 2017, with their suspension, and they finished all the way down in 7th place last time. DJ, we'll start with you. They've got some pretty good players. If you look down their squad list, there's some stars in there, some match winners in there. Can they do better than their 7th last year?
So I think we've just heard that Ben Stokes, who's one of their marquee players, is probably going to miss at least half of the IPL because his dad is unwell and he's in New Zealand. So that's a big blow to start with. And they've got these big kind of foreign players. They've got the Jos Butlers of the world, who we know... one of the best T20 white ball cricketers in the world. Opening the batting for them, they've got Jofra Archer bowling at 95 miles per hour for them as well. Steve Smith, who will be captain but will miss the start, so it'll be interesting to see who's going to captain them right at the start. There was some speculation maybe they were not cut. I don't honestly see them. Well, they've got Miller as well, another big hitting left-hander. I don't actually see them being real contenders this year. They've traditionally overachieved in the IPL with their teams. They've had people like Dravid, Rahane. Of course, they won it in the first year, as you said. But the loss of Stokes for the first half is really going to affect their balance. Generally, I think it's a game changer for them.
Ashwin, how do we see Steve Smith as a T20 player and captain? Obviously, he's in Test cricket. There is no rival really around the world at the moment. He's right up there in terms of stats anyway. But in T20, he's never quite had the same success. Do you see him as being a really good captain and leader for this Rajasthan Royals side?
I mean, he's coming off, I think, a combined 18 or 20 runs in the 3 T20s that he just batted against England, right? They played around with his batting position a little when they promoted Maxwell. It's tough. I mean, I think this is an awkward spot for the Rajasthan Royals where you've now got a skipper who doesn't necessarily guarantee his own spot in the 11, and that just, it gets difficult. But I mean, that's a worrying sign that the Rajasthan Royals have an 11 where they couldn't pick somebody else who could lead, who is a strong leader, who was guaranteed their spot in the 11. So, yeah, I agree. Steve Smith, undoubtedly, definitely one of the best Test batsmen in our generation, in the current generation, if not the best, but hasn't quite fully proven himself in T20. What I will say is, in a lineup where you have somebody like a Buttler and a Sampson and maybe a Miller, who are all potentially big hitters but less reliable, if Smith can play that anchor role, along with now Robin Uthappa, who I mentioned before, who's got an incredible IPL career. Yes, he's nearer the end of his career than the beginning, but just an outstanding IPL talent with tons of experience. If Smith and Uthappa can anchor that batting order and give license to Buttler, Jaiswal, Sampson, Miller, that opens up opportunities for them. So I think that's the role that they're going to expect him to play. I think the only other thing I'll say is I didn't actually know much about Andrew McDonald as a coach either. Like, I looked him up in the past week. He's assistant coach to Justin Langer in the Australian men's side, but a young coach, never really a hugely successful international cricketer himself. So I think Smith will step up in from a leadership standpoint as well in terms of strategy.
This guy was the seam bowling Australian all-rounder, wasn't he, Andrew McDonald?
Yeah, he was coach at Leicester as well. He was coach at Leicestershire in England. Very well thought of coach, I think. And I think sometimes it'd be interesting to get your take on that, actually. Obviously the IPL has a tendency to find the biggest name you can find and make him coach, don't they? Doesn't necessarily make them the best coach in the world, does it? You know, sometimes the Andrew McDonalds of this world, who have maybe gone under the radar as players, have found out more about the game and maybe can pass on a little bit more and maybe have worked a little bit more in terms of their actual coaching and man management.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I think there's two parts of a coach's job, and one is being the face of the team, managing the media, etc. And for that, the bigger the name, the more help you get, right? The second part is what happens behind closed doors that we don't always see. And you're absolutely right. Just having a big name doesn't mean anything. We've seen some many big names come through the IPL and fail very badly. So I hope to see, lesser known names succeed, but it's going to be interesting to see how they manage the media and the frenzy and the drama and that part of it, which they may be less exposed to.
It's almost reflective of the attitude of the Rajasthan Royals, isn't it? They get a smaller name coach. They're kind of quite understated. They've got some big players, but they've got a lot of kind of exciting young players. They've got Yashasvi, they've got Mahipal Lomore. It is symbolic of their attitude towards picking their squad and picking their support staff almost.
DJ, I'm going to come on to this probably a little bit more with Sunrisers Hyderabad, but when you look at the overseas, they can obviously only play 4 at a time from their overseas contingent in an IPL side. You would imagine that Jofra Archer starts. You'd imagine that Jos Buttler starts. You would imagine that if he's there, Ben Stokes starts. So that's 3 ticks there. Steve Smith probably takes the other one as captain. So does that mean that the other 4, Tom Curran, O'Shane Thomas, David Miller and Andrew Tye, are just going to be perpetual bench warmers?
So I'd say Tom Curran and Jofra Archer would probably rotate, and so would Andrew Tye. I think Miller and Smith will probably face off for their spots if Smith isn't doing the job. And then they need to think about maybe an Uthappa or an Uradkat as captain, an Indian captain that is going to play the game. And O'Shane Thomas, again, probably going to warm the bench behind, Jofra. Tye's a different bowler from Jofra, quite tricky with his back of the hand stuff. I think Miller versus Smith, that will be an interesting decision for them to make. And then the 3 bowlers will just need to work out which one of them plays. But Buttler is definitely going to play. Whether he keeps wicket or not would be interesting to see, because they've got Sanju as well in the team.
Andrew Tye was the Purple Cap winner just 2 seasons ago in the IPL. And
can you imagine?
Yeah, and I saw him take a lot of wickets in the Big Bash League, and I saw when he signed in the IPL, I thought, I'm not sure that's going to translate, but he did really, really well, didn't he? So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes with their bowling unit. Sanju Samson is somebody that I really like watching. He's got 200s in the IPL in the past, but for me, when people are talking about the stars of the IPL, he's very rarely mentioned. He kind of goes under that radar a little bit like you were saying, DJ, about Rajasthan Royals and their kind of image, really. It goes under the radar, doesn't it? Sanju Samson's one of those, Ashwin, isn't he?
Yeah, because he's, in my memory at least, this may not be backed by stats, but he's either going to make you a single-digit score or he's going to make you 80+. And that's tough to watch, right? It's almost painful to watch him get out in single digits to a poor shot or just bad decision making after he's just made a century or an 80+ run score. So that's why I think if Sanju Samson can show up this year with a little more consistently, even if it's giving you 25 runs at the top before in between his bigger scores, I think it's going to be huge and he has the potential to show up big. But that's the issue, is over the years it's always been hit or miss. There hasn't been any consistency from him.
Further down the list in terms of profile, you've got Mayank McCann, you've got Shreyas Gopal as spinners, you've got the youngsters Akash Singh and Kartik Tyagi as the under-19 World Cup team for India. They've got a little bit of depth there, haven't they, to coincide with the major stars that we've already discussed, DJ?
Absolutely, and they will be the ones, I think, that will bring the surprise of the IPL. Someone like Kartik Tyagi, as you've just mentioned, Riyan Parag, you've got Shreyas Gopal, who's already done well for the Rajasthan Royals. Kartik Tyagi was actually the under-19 star, as you said, in the latest World Cup. So they've kind of produced a lot of players that have, young players that have done well for them. And then elsewhere, I mean, Jadeja started off in the Rajasthan Royals, remember, in the first year of the IPL. And what a star he's been for India as well as the CSK now. So, yeah, exciting team. Very heavily dependent on the foreign stars, the biggest name of which arguably isn't going to show up. So I think maybe a tough year for Rajasthan fans.
DJ, we'll start with you then with marks out of 10 for Rajasthan Royals' chances of winning IPL 2020.
So I don't want to say it because they're a team that everyone likes, and I mean they're not like a Mumbai that's been super successful and is a big money team with kind of big name owners and big name coach and big name players playing for them. But I think they're going to struggle without Stokes and with Smith and Miller. So I'm going to say 4.5.
That's your lowest score of the
lowest one I've given.
Yeah, lowest score of the IPL so far. Ashwin, what about you?
I was going to say 5.
And again, that's your lowest score of your score so far. I'm going to say 6. I think on their day they're capable of winning a few games, and you never know how. I always think a lot of T20 tournaments, we can kind of go through the minutiae of the squad setups and everything like that. But if you get off to a decent start and get some momentum and some confidence, you can go a long way. And I think that might be Rajasthan's main hope in that one. So 6 plus 4.5 from DJ and 5 from Ashwin means that they get 15.5. Moonrise is a sports engagement website to allow sports fans to learn from the very best. Get a personal video message recorded for a fan's special occasion. Have a professional cricketer as your next coach by getting video feedback or having a 30-minute conversation with some of the world's best players. Players such as Jimmy Neesham, Colin Munro, Tammy Beaumont, Danny Wyatt, Monty Panesar. Visit moonrisesports.com or go to Moonrise Sports on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Moonrise Cricket, let's play.
Advancements in the medical field are giving nurses faster, more effective results than ever before. They should expect the same from their education too. Capella University's game-changing FlexPath format allows you to set your own deadlines and leverage your experience to move faster through your program. So the faster you move, the more money you save. When you're ready, we'll be here. Visit capella.edu for a trial course at no cost to you. Capella University. Don't just learn, learn smarter.